It's great to be here. I'm really happy to be here tonight. I want to thank Carolyn Vesely and Adelina Vlas and the entire power plant team that's made all of this possible. Thank you. It's great to see so many old friends, colleagues here this evening. It's really quite overwhelming, honestly. Thank you for coming out to this. It's really meaningful. And also lots of colleagues from Fogo Island Arts Surefast, supporters for Fogo Island Arts. Thank you for all coming. It's really, really meaningful. Zita Cobb is here as well. Thank you. Thank you. In this presentation, I will share with you the experience of making the Shanghai Biennale, which closes on March 31st. So it's still open if you have time. You like to fly, you can get over there. It was a really intense project. Not many people work this way. It was made in the course of a year. So a single year I made this show. A biennial is typically a large-scale international group exhibition. It has its finger on the pulse and takes into account the cultural ambitions of the host city. But it is also, perhaps more importantly, a rare opportunity to bring artists together from different areas of the world. It holds the promise of new conversations among them. Sorry, I have to get my little table here sorted. The exhibition features almost 300 works by 67 individual artists and collectives from around the world, including 16 from China. Over 30 works were commissioned or are new. The Power Station of Art is the main venue. To this, we added 2 satellite venues, the Jiawanhai Museum of Art, located northwest of the city center, as well as Villa TBH, which was a kind of designer shop that had a residency program in the French concession in central Shanghai. We published a bilingual 400-page illustrated catalog along with a reader. Let me begin this story by telling you a little bit about the process and how the thinking behind this exhibition took shape. In the summer of 2024, I was invited to send a proposal to the Biennial Scientific Committee. It was titled, "Does the Flower Hear the Bee?" After a competition, I was notified in August that my proposal had been selected, and I would be appointed chief curator of the 15th edition of the Shanghai Biennale. In November 2024, I was officially appointed, making me the first woman ever to lead the biennial. It's interesting, actually, just the clapping. There are lots of really strong women working in China, in the art world. It's really fascinating to see. So I felt like it's kind of, I wonder why it took so long for them, but thank you. So what was this proposal that I sent them? So it's probably my quirkiest slide. I'd recently read about flower and bee interactions. It turns out that flowers hear bees. They hear the beating wings, the vibration as bees approach. The sound causes flowers to secrete a sweeter nectar. Inspired by this relationship, I was interested in making an exhibition exploring new sorts of sensorial communication among artwork, visitors, and environment. Jaron Lanier, that's him with the instrument. Jaron Lanier's recent writings were also very much on my mind. He is a computer scientist renowned as one of the inventors of virtual reality, but he has become widely known for his cautionary writings on digital technologies. From deep within Silicon Valley's technofuturism, with its whiplash alternation between utopian projections and catastrophic anxieties, he has emphasized the centrality of the individual human voice and intelligence. As an amateur musician and a collector of musical instruments from cultures across the globe, Lanier is interested in the embodied nature of experience. He explains how each instrument asks the musician to adapt their body to its particular materials, forms, and traditions. He contrasts this with the experience of interactive digital devices, whose models are made of abstractions, letters, pixels, files, while acoustic instruments are made of physical, obdurate matter. Wood in an oud or a violin, for instance, reflects an old forest, the bodies who played it, and many other things. And it does so in an intrinsic organic way, transcending abstractions. Does the Flower Hear the Bee developed within this nexus of ideas at the intersection of differing models of intelligence, human and non-human, and aimed to learn from both nature and culture? I strongly believe the act of experiencing artworks gives us the ability to form stronger bonds within and between communities, and to do so in harmony with the more than human world. Does the flower hear the bee asks us to find new ways to attune ourselves to a wide array of intelligences, asking each viewer to recognize, like the flower, that so much depends on sensing the world around us. It's a whole different world. So something about context. The Shanghai Biennale was launched in 1996. It is the first and longest-running international biennial of contemporary art in mainland China. In 2012, the Power Station of Art became the organizer and permanent venue of the Shanghai Biennale. With Shanghai as its primary locus, the Biennale, sorry, I'm going back and forth between those words. The Biennale upholds the mission of supporting academic and cultural innovation while continuously tracking social evolution and trends in knowledge production in a global context. This gathering in Shanghai has become one of the most influential art events in Asia, establishing a forum fostering international cross-cultural dialogue and foregrounding some of the most exciting work being made by artists in Asia and globally today. The Power Station of Art, I'm going to call it PSA from now on so I don't have to keep talking about it in terms of those three words, is a converted power station located along the Huangpu River. Funded by the Shanghai municipality, the PSA is the first public contemporary art museum in China. Well before the 2010 Shanghai World Exhibition, which prompted the renovation of the power station, Shanghai had become a critical site for the articulation of a global modernity. From the mid-19th century forward, it has been an urban space defined by the meeting of distinct, if sometimes clashing, cultures, by the new spaces of sociality, and by emergent forms of being together. Today, it continues to be a city that defines new modes of belonging, at once rich in history and open to the future. The PSA is massive. In total, it measures 41,000 square meters, and the Biennale occupies 8,000 square meters. The number of visitors is equally impressive. On a good day of the exhibition that I've just done, we have 6,000 visitors coming through the space. On International Women's Day, it achieved a whole new record with 7,157 visitors coming through. And on that day, they made the exhibition free for women, so kind of nice. So a little bit about the team. On being selected to helm the exhibition, I was required to build a team and started by inviting curators. So Daisy de Rossier is in the green sweater off to the side. She's currently director of the Gun Gallery at Kenyon College. Some of you may know her because she's worked in Canada quite a bit. And Zhui Tan, who's not pictured here, but she's the chief curator at the Haus der Kunst in Munich. The architect, Rashapour Nchichui, is in the black sweater, sort of in the center. And her team also in a studio from Bangkok led the exhibition design. They were joined by Amsterdam graphic designer Sarah de Bont and New York-based editor Sarah Demuse. I have to say it's the first time I've ever worked with an architect making an exhibition. And Rashapour came to this show with incredible information and made it so much better. And if I could work with an architect on every exhibition going forward, I would. It's very different from working with exhibition designers that I've worked with in museums. I don't want to diss them. They've all been good people to work with, but this was amazing. So let's go. Daisy and Zhui brought to the project a range of international voices. Notions of interdependence, relation, rehearsal, and expanded listening were central to their thinking. When you're working on exhibitions of this scale, collective thinking is highly important. It takes a team to make such a show, and the team must work effectively together or the exhibition won't happen. So these were all people I really didn't know very well, and in the course of the year, we worked incredibly well. We did make this happen. It was kind of fascinating to me because you don't know, you hope for the best. But it was an exceptional moment. So we're going to go right into the art now. On entering the ground floor, visitors encounter Aloran Calzadia's Phantom Forest. When I first visited, I could see the atrium would require a statement of some kind. It's so big, it's massive. The artist made this work specifically for the space. It's large scale, definitely makes a statement, and viewers seeing it for the first time find it arresting. I have strangely, one of the flowers in my pocket. I didn't mean to, but there were 20 different flowers made, and they're all in different states, so like first bloom and then kind of starting to decay. So this is the most decayed flower of all of the molds that were made, the one that I have in my pocket. So it would be a fallen flower. Thousands of yellow cast recycled plastic flowers are suspended from the ceiling, forming the shape of the Roble amarillo trees native to the Caribbean, while fallen flowers are scattered on the ground beneath. The trunks and branches are absent and conjure a ghostly natural presence. With this spectacular work, the artists evoke the delicate and paradoxical beauty of post-colonial life forms within a context of ongoing ecological degradation triggered by resource extraction and climate change. So just also in the same space, you'll see this in other slides, you'll sort of understand how it all fits in. So work by Rikrit Tirvanija. He's an artist who has, of course, an international career and went to school here in Toronto. It was really interesting to learn as I was working on this. He'd never shown in a public institution in China. A long time ago, once he showed in a commercial gallery. So bringing him into this kind of forum was new in a way. So he's a very familiar artist to a lot of people. But just to kind of give that context and think about that, there are a lot of artists that haven't been seen over there that we might know. And with COVID, of course, this kind of sharing that happens in the contemporary art world wasn't happening so much, of course. So things sort of have been missed in China. So it was a way of bringing some things there that haven't been seen. So it's one of the first artists that I chose for the exhibition, and after doing a little bit of research about her, was very, very moved by what she does. So on the opening night of November 7th, Japanese artist Ami Yamasaki performed a new work, an etude of interplay. Here she is on the second floor of the space. Yamasaki's approach encapsulates the main tenets of the exhibition. Using her body, she tried to receive and replay the architectural environment in which she performed. As Daisy de Rossier stated in her essay, for Yamasaki, voice is a method of locating oneself in the world, illuminating its sonic topography and turning into its multiplicity. The body becomes a vessel for resonance, responding to the space in ways that are deeply subjective and transformative. If you don't know her, I'd really encourage you to go online and watch her perform. She can actually repeat the noises that she hears as in a kind of singing voice. So if there's a car going by or a dog barking or a bird singing, all of those things can become part of the voice. It's really, really remarkable. So she moved around the space in the opening night. A set of continuously rotating photographs by Kosuno Tsubo were exhibited on the first floor, giving viewers a window into his long career. Otsubo proposes an avant-garde approach to ikebana. He works with discarded flowers, branches, and many other kinds of materials, including mulch, soil, wire, and scrap metal. Trained at the Ryoseha Ikebana School in Kyoto, he reimagines the traditional art of floral arrangement. We presented a new linga he made for the occasion upstairs. His large-scale linga sculptures, made since the 1970s, honor not only the sacred symbolism of the form, but also connect with the art of improvisation and ephemerality. So you can see all the flower petals spread around. So much material was collected to make this, lots of willow branches, and they kind of looked like hundreds and hundreds of willow branches in the space, and then suddenly they were all gone, and there was this form. So it's quite a dense form. Yes, you can see Rikrit there. You get a sense of the scale, how big things are. Brett Graham's Cafe Ke brought together traditional craft and decolonial critique. His work recreates a gun turret from New Zealand's first purpose-built warship in Kauri, a wood native to the country's North Island. In the early 1860s, gunboats with these turrets traveled down the Waikato River, pushing deep into Maori territory. Graham remakes this artifact of industrialized colonial warfare into a variety of traditional craftsmanship, fashioned from local material and utilizing a time-honored carving design that suggests the river. In the words of the artist, Kaweke attuned to vibrations beyond the visible, to the intangible histories that shape the present. It is a sculpture as more than human witness, part weapon and part ancestral wananga, which means part ancestral knowledge, lore, or learning. And it's part memory, insisting that presence, like the river, transmits knowledge. When he arrived, the first thing he said to me, I've been down to see the river, I feel better. So, coming from New Zealand's North Island, it's, the geography helped to locate him, the water, something natural in the city. A couple of artists said this to me, so. And I just want to also share with you, I'm really only showing you probably a quarter of this thing, so there's so much more I could share with you had we done a 4 or 5 part talk, but I proposed that to the power plant, but they didn't take me up on it. Chang Xin-ha Chang-Xin-ha's Musica Prohibita opens the projected image section. Here we see a phonograph of a landscape playing a recording of the early 20th century tenor Enrico Caruso's singing the eponymous song Before a Rhododendron Tree. The location is southwestern China. The work makes reference to the Austrian-American botanist and explorer, Joseph Rock, who spent a quarter century in Yunnan in the 1920s to the 40s studying its Naxi people, as well as botanical diversity in the Wangduan Mountains. Rock found the Naxi to be particularly reluctant to be photographed, but they were fascinated by the music of his gramophone. He would play them Caruso and then more easily photograph them as they gathered to listen. Musica Prohibita, forbidden music in English, reverses this trajectory by playing Caruso to the plants. One of Rock's pictures of the Naxi listening to Caruso is taped inside the record player's open lid. So kind of reverse story. Sorry. Also on the first floor, Lotus Al Kang's lantern-like installation, Azaleas, is a kinetic sculpture with film strips projecting light through pink orchids and roses onto the surrounding walls. The work rotates according to a score based on the Korean poet Kim So-wal's poem of the same title, Azaleas. Zhui Tan observes, cultural heritage in Kang's work is not represented, but sits within an open fixture. Through material intimacy and atmospheric change, she composes a diasporic language of unresolved and evolving longing. The piece works in the shadows with absence to conjure history. Let's go to the second floor. So just a little bit about the exhibition design, working with Rasha Porn and her team also. We made a lot of pedestals and furniture, and we used these gray bricks that you see. The idea was that it was completely sustainable. When the exhibition was over, all of those things could return to the marketplace and be used again. So there was no waste of material in a sense. And it's quite beautiful, I think, the way she sort of figured out to use it. This is like a massive stairwell. Again, it's bigger than any stairwell we'd see in any building in Canada. It's huge. And to actually use it as a space to install, I think was a smart thing to do. So Masaomi Yasunaga's large-scale ceramics were placed on the oversized atrium staircase leading to the second floor. We transformed this space into an installation passageway articulated by the vases. Visitors can walk amongst them or appreciate them from the moving escalator. The articulated surfaces of these objects evoke ancient times. The artist has a keen interest in the accidental processes of kiln firing and speaks about his work as vessels that archive an immense index of external forces, transcending the temporality that can be experienced by a single individual. These things are huge. So the vase there that you see on its own, it's about 6 feet tall. So he's working at really large scale. So you can see as you go up the stairs, there's a work by Hegu Yang. She has a work in Toronto's AGO. Some of you may be familiar with it, made of Venetian blinds. And I think some of you may have even done a visit with her in Berlin and met with her. But At the top of the stairs, spectators are greeted by Hegu Yang's absolutely massive, accommodating epic dispersion, the second major work in the exhibition. Commissioned by and first exhibited at Munich's Haus der Kunst, the mobile creates a spatial rhythm and a flow of color, as well as implicating the viewer in its play of opacity and transparency. As Yang explains, the work's origins lie in her interest in how colonial history affects and transforms us. Even if colonization takes shape differently now than in the past, it's quite present in the stream of power around us, like the air we breathe. This work has only been shown twice before, since few venues have the space necessary for such a large installation. Again, this is like the second biggest space in the building, so you can see the bench down in the corner to get a sense, again, of human scale is absolutely massive. Accommodating epic dispersion represents Yang's way to get closer to the as yet unfolded complexities in the colonial dispersion and migration, ranging from physical exodus to mental breakdown. On the surrounding walls, we see more recent murals. Just down in the corner, there's a little mural called Alien Colloquial, which is based on Brazilian motifs. And then behind, burgeoning polyscopic vista, this mural that you see on the wall was originally done for the Madame Curie Institute in Paris. It has a lot of kind of medical references, but also it does feel actually like a huge insect almost surveying the whole space. It does a number of different things, and then also has a lot of sort of technological instruments and then a lot of things from the natural world. So it's really a collage of different kinds of references. Post-colonialism is a subject for many of the artists in the exhibition. We wanted to think deliberately how a cultural globality could manifest in our current times, where the encounter of culture entails not the obsessive and repetitive weight of identitarian violence, but the scrambling of our differences and the advent of the unpredictable. And given the urgent crisis posed by global warming and climate change, the Biennale wanted to celebrate and learn from indigenous artists, bringing forward relationships to nature, which differ from Western colonial models based in land ownership and extraction. In the hallway leading from Hegu's work, we find Audie Murray's subtle installation. To make smoke, Murray applied to the wall by hand a coating of ash mixed with water. The ash contained burned sage, sweetgrass, and roses, and water sourced from the nearby Huangpu River. Murray, of Métis ancestry, gestured toward indigenous understandings of creativity as processual, relational, and deeply tied to ceremony and the land. It took her several days to apply this soft gray smudge blur, as if holding, healing, and cleansing the building, or maybe the biennial itself. Brian Youngin's Pull to Refresh. Lots of people know Brian. Here we see a player piano pierced by more than 300 arrows. The work, made in a performance context, evokes the iconoclastic performances by Fluxus artists in the 1960s, many of which entailed the destruction of bourgeois musical instruments. In this artist's hands, such a gesture takes on an added resonance as he recalls the many childhood afternoons spent watching old westerns, including a scene in one film where settlers are sent a warning arrow shot into their cabin door. The arrows embedded in the piano can be understood as a warning writ large and a pointed conversation with an emblem of the Western cultural canon. It was interesting when Brian made this work, it was actually a live performance for about, 100, 200 people. And it was quite an exciting event. Matthew Barney opened up his studio, and there were about, I think, 9 or 10 performers shooting the arrows, like people who were trained to do this, because I don't think they wanted anyone to lose their life or anything. But it actually made many sounds. As each arrow hit the piano, there was a kind of music that was performed, in a sense. It was quite an interesting object. So just beside this, just beside it, really, like literally, you look over your shoulder, you would see this. Ari Benjamin Meyer's duet also explored music and participation, but in a very different way. In his work, singing functions as a pretext to prompt a new, temporary connection between two strangers who sing together. For this iteration in Shanghai, he worked with voice students from the Shanghai Academy of Fine Arts. So the idea is they just invite anybody coming into the exhibition if they want to learn a piece of music. And so you see this performance happening with the person learning the music. This type of open engagement with the audience is not very common in the Shanghai context, yet the work was very successful and brought a counterweight to the ubiquitous current tendency of experiencing artworks through the lens of a mobile phone. At one point I came by and there were like about 25 people in the space. People seemed really eager to do this, and we were told as we were working on the show that this probably wasn't going to be of interest to people, and just to kind of like not talk about it too much, but it was interesting. Hajra Wahid's new drawings made for Shanghai center around the Kamal, an ancient navigational tool used by Arab seafarers in the 9th century. In her words, the Kamal's simplicity, a small piece of wood and a knotted string, belied its profound function as an intimate communication device between seafarers and the stars, transforming starlight into spatial knowledge, intimate and reciprocal. It calibrated the senses to the rhythms of celestial movement, where the body became an archive with memory held in hands and horizon lines. This Zhui Tan worked very closely with Hajra, and I think it was very much a response to this work. They were directly opposite. This is, again, a huge work, maybe 20 feet long or something. It's quite big. So it's when you look at it here, it's really hard to understand the size, but it's whale-like. I mean, it's not whale size, but it's whale-like. So opposite Xiao Fan's large-scale work on paper, Bei Ming in the Northern Ocean, draws from Zhuang Zu's 4th century BCE text, which describes a colossal fish named Kun dwelling in the Northern Ocean, capable of transforming into a giant bird named Peng. As Peng rises from the water, it generates weather and atmosphere. Zhui Tan states, in Xiao's Ik painting, the ancient tale becomes a meditation on transformation. The massive whale-like form evokes both movement and stillness, its surface rendered through dense textured brushwork. The whale's rugged skin resembles a flowing topography of mountains and waves, a movement between life and landscape. Bei Ming in this precise depiction becomes a vessel of water and land through which the spirit and consciousness take flight. Worry Red consists of handmade wool felt blankets that act as vessels for the red soil from Warrabinda, Harding's grandmother's ancestral birthplace in central Queensland, Australia. These blankets have traveled and been exhibited across the world in cities such as Bergen, Brisbane, Helsinki, and Paris. As Zhui Tan states, despite this global movement, the work is not a one-way extraction. In a powerful reversal, it resists commodification and exists as a journey through circulation, wearing out over the course of the journey and returning to its original land through the hands of their family members. In Harding's practice, art becomes a ceremony where red soil speaks to a specific place, its history, and kin. It's a hard one, like looking at this. It's a funny work to be in front of and then to photograph it. It's sort of two different things, but it is kind of like this. In the same gallery as Worry Red, Chen Ruifan presented Dust, a delicate-looking, seemingly invisible, but in actuality very heavy cobweb-like sculpture made of dust collected from a furniture factory in Wuhan. She states, the density of the air, the turbulence created by the operation of the machines, and the sunlight trying to penetrate the dusty glass windows felt uncomfortable. It was hard to imagine how someone could stay focused on high-risk tasks for 8 hours straight. This body of work continues my broader interest in chronic and invisible forms of vulnerability, whether ecological, physical, or emotional. I'm drawn to conditions that erode gradually, quietly shaping our realities until it's too late and their weight and presence become undeniable. So this is a kind of a set of, a kind of a network or web of very fine thread, and it's sort of suspending this dust. Can you see this iron board at the bottom? So the dust is so heavy that it's actually pulling up the iron board, or this metal board that's supporting it, which it doesn't seem kind of real, but it's true. This is what happened. It's very heavy work. So Rebecca Quaban, American artist, some of you might know. Like Benjamin Myers, Rebecca Quaidman's paintings also considered the act of reaching out to strangers. In the room solely devoted to her work, she brought together paintings focused on ancient Chinese calligraphy, which she says was always directed to another. Within this presentation, Quaidman, in her own words, is trying to begin speaking with painting, history, and the present in order to correspond. I make optical maneuvers to a viewer who could be described as a passing glimpser, as de Kooning described himself, and perhaps I realize I am one too. However, it might also be good to attune to the occasional seeker who likes to not just glimpse, but also find. She made some paintings especially for the show. Her family had a very old Asian bowl, Asian ceramics in the collection, and she decided to make it the subject of one of the paintings, which you can see there. This is a sketch Elise made while conceptualizing the rooms in Shanghai. We see fire and the words blowing, singing, humming, whistling, vibrating, written in relation to a point noted as the tonal center. The drawing is an intuitive study of the kinds of sounds in children's games, drawing together embodied experiences from across the world to make a new composition. I should say, after Laura Calzadilla, Hegu Yang, I think Francis is a kind of next big moment in the show. When you're making exhibitions like this, you're always thinking about the choreography and the experience of the viewer. And there are lots of artists who make things that are sort of the size of this paper, but we're working with a big space, and so we really had to think about the viewer's experience. And so this is another kind of bigger moment in the exhibition. In another large space on the second floor, Elise composed a stunning room, including a selection of his well-known children's games videos, which he has been making since 1999. The grouping brought together everyday games played by children in the Ukraine, Congo, Mexico, Denmark, and Taiwan. With this selection, he created a new tonal harmony based on the combination of soundtracks. This, he says, reminds us more than competing with one another, children's games complete one another beyond their cultural differences. So as you approach this work, there was a vitrine that he made, and it's a kind of this was a study for the vitrine, so I just thought I'd show you some of the more intimate moments in such a big exhibition. So kind of bird maybe looking at a canvas, abstract work of art. And this is what the actual vitrine looked like, so you can see going from the sketch to the actuality. Off to the side, so while he makes these incredible videos, he is also very much a kind of analog practitioner. And off to the side, there was a room. It was very hard to photograph the paintings in the show, so these are things that were shot in his studio, but they were in the exhibition. The kind of metallic painting reflected the video, so kind of brought it into the room. But this would be assembled, something like this was assembled on the wall. He started sort of doing some embroidery, so some smaller pieces on the wall. And these particular works. So there's a lot of fire in the exhibition. Again, when we were selecting things, we weren't looking for fire per se, but we noticed it was a motif throughout the exhibition. And it's interesting given what's happening in our world today. I mean, it's really, I think, telling of the kind of time we're living in. But I just wanted to show you a detail. So these are the embroideries close up, and they have this little fleck of gold leaf in them, which is really quite sort of charming kind of aspect of the work. Anyway, yeah. So animals and insects appear in various works throughout the exhibition, whether as motifs or as forms envisioning interconnectedness with the world. In this photographic series, the artist captures mating fireflies in Mexico at the moment of their collective blink. The mating ritual only lasts 10 minutes before sunset. While Shin's images seem abstract, they capture a brief moment of sexual signaling and transmission. We had 4 of those. You can see kind of the photographs in the back there to get a sense of scale. Windborne Message is the title of this work. These hanging banners were partially made with materials found near a construction site in the artist's hometown of Tepoztlan, Mexico. The motifs evoke the visual language of protest movements, particularly connected to labor. The stitched drawings are made from reused strips of discarded and disposable suits worn in job interviews and allude to the dream of upward social mobility associated with these materials. The banners are weighed down with rocks and pieces of wood. So you can sort of see these strings coming down. You can see a piece of wood there and a rock. I think about 10 Canadians were included in the exhibition. To give you a sense, I think, our artists are incredibly strong, and we don't see enough of them internationally, and so I thought, here's a chance to make a little bit of a statement and to bring some over. Of course, we have lots of great people. I chose 10. I chose 10 at different ages and stages of their career, and different group of people. They were interesting to work with. Of course, I think most of us know this work, but I'll go through it in case there are people in the room who are seeing it for the first time. The drawings of Shuvanaia Shuna, a third-generation Inuit artist, blend ancestral and celestial worlds, yet they break with the traditional style of Inuit art making. In the words of Nancy Campbell, Shuvanai's personal iconography mixes scenes of her Arctic home with the monstrous and fantastical visions, sometimes evoking altered states of mind and shifting perceptions. We brought together a beautiful selection of large drawings made between 2010 and 2022, some featuring animals, monsters, children, and others representing more traditional activities. I don't know, is Nancy Campbell here? She was going to come tonight. She may have got caught in the traffic. Anyway, I want to thank Nancy because she really helped with this particular selection, and she was very generous with her curatorial knowledge. So thank you, Nancy. If she's not here, I don't see her, so maybe if you know her, let her know I called her out. Kim Adams, of course, senior Canadian artist. This sculpture arrived, formerly known as Pig Mountain, takes up the theme of landscape, and more precisely, the creation of fictional landscapes. Using materials employed by model train amateurs, Adams' sculpture has morphed over the years, and he describes his process as similar to how humans bring about natural devastation. I started socializing the mountain. I dropped the rules and let the work develop. The landscape became more populated. People started moving in. Deforestation started to happen. It's what we humans do. I was pulling it away from the landscape. I was overpopulating it. With that many pigs, there wouldn't be any foliage left. The piece is at the stage. It's at a turning point. You could come in the morning and it might all be gone. There's also a very successful event with children where they made these tiny landscapes and took them home. So Prologue Resonant Blossoms by Tanya Kandiani is a constellation of field recordings made around Shanghai, which visitors hear as they stand inside large bamboo trumpet blossoms resembling hats. Kandiani seeks to create spaces where attention slows, where the body tunes itself to frequencies often ignored. Sound and form can become portals toward the microscopic, the cosmic, the deeply entangled. A ritual of perception, a quiet call to remember that we are not alone and that everything is always speaking. Sound helps us to understand the early stages of the cosmos and sheds lights on processes that are invisible to the human eye. It also helps to harmonize the body and mind with high vibrations. Sonority helps us to understand the invisible and thus the unknown. Evelyn Wang made a new series of paintings of the Four Seasons evoking Agnes Martin's late canvases that feature many elements of Chinese ink painting, most notably calligraphy. Her texts tend to be humorous and sometimes contradictory. She references a range of topics from popular culture, from her own experience of living in different cities in China, and from the anti-personal slant in modernist painting. The canvas on the left features Shanghai hairy crab. This is a big season in Shanghai and coincided with the opening days. People are crazy about hairy crab, so you can see them down here. Windward was filmed over 3 summers on Fogo Island. Lockhart speaks about her experience. On Fogo, you find yourself subject not only to the land, but to the island's ever-present Arctic winds. People there have become uniquely attuned to this force's unseen, intangible movements. There's a clarity on the island that is a distinct rhythm that comes from this connection, one that rises and falls, surges and calms. This film is composed of 12 scenes of children inhabiting the landscape in various ways. Here we see a young boy flying a kite. It's a really remarkable film. You'll have the chance to see it. It's opening at the power plant on October 15th, 16th? Opening at the power plant on October 16th. So it's a film that originated out of Fogo Island. We're very proud of, and I think Vega also is very important, Vega Foundation, in the production of this film. We're coming to the end, so there's not too much more, all right? A little bit more. Adjacent to Lockhart, Luke Willis Thompson's film Mouvement des Malades captures the onset of a catastrophic typhoon as experienced from inside a church on Fiji. Here we see Jean Charlot's 1962 mural, Black Christ and Worshippers in St. Francis of Xavier Church. This was the artist's church as a child. While the image is static, you can hear the increasingly destructive rainstorm, as well as the children's voices coming from the outside. Another component of this work is the artist's recreation of a chart by Frantz Fanon, outlining his thinking on psychosis and decolonial thought. As Daisy de Rossier comments in her essay, the work examines the possible intersections between mental illness, such as psychosis and decolonial thinking, suggesting that mental health, historical trauma, and colonial legacies are deeply entwined. So very different. The first time I went to Shanghai for research purposes, I met the deputy director of this museum, and we were invited to use it as a site. It's a little northwest of the city in a kind of grape growing district. It exists in a rice paddy, functional rice paddy, which you see in the foreground. It's a building by Tadeo Ando, the architect. Theaster Gates did some works here. So Gates intervened in the museum's library, where he selected over 500 books on Chinese, Japanese, and African-American subject matter from the Central Shanghai Library for visitors to use and perhaps begin to understand his methodology, one that aggregates traditional and contemporary cross-cultural knowledge and invites further study and reflection. Gates does a lot of ceramics, so a lot of the books dealt with Chinese, Japanese ceramics and the relations between the two histories of making. The central gesture in this museum featured a raised room-sized pedestal covered with chocolate-colored ceramic tiles made by the artist in Japan. These surfaces supported a Buddha sculpture and exquisite handmade vessels. So you can see again these kind of concrete bricks that I talked to you about that we use for all our pedestals. And again, all of those went back into the system. And then these kind of chocolate tiles, ceramic tiles that Theaster made were a kind of layer above, and then his own ceramics on top. So you can see. And the Buddha that he made. This is a kind of young Turkish artist I met while I was doing research. I went to Istanbul, and I found the work really fascinating. She's a young artist, but her mother, which has the red hair sort of in the wrap there, grew up in a very remote town that's really it's like a hill. It's very remote. It's a hill that kind of goes straight up, and the people who live there farm. Mostly, women are not allowed to inherit anything. They're not allowed to have money, and incidentally, they also have to do all the work. Somehow, her mother escaped, and her mother became a dentist. And so the artist is the photographer who made this work. And the mother and the artist Kansu, they love this place, and they go back and they have a deep relation with the place, but they don't own anything there. And so really the photographic essay is the story of this relationship with place and with people. That would be one of the aunties in the foreground. You can see in the shadows, she's holding a gun because there are wild animals and such, and they have to protect themselves should anything happen out on the hills. That's the mother of the artist, and just you can see a little bit the kind of landscape we're talking about in Turkey. Abasakavan, on the side of the power station, there's a large asphalt rooftop parking lot. We commissioned Akavan to create a new text piece here in this largely hidden space, which became we had to move the comma around. You could almost see it from one of the windows on this floor. It is meant to be seen from other perspectives than the one I'm showing you now. It's really meant for other people, not for people coming into the show. So this is really the last kind of major space I'm going to talk to you about. And this, again, was like a huge room on the 3rd floor. Again, bigger than any room I've ever seen in my life. Has this kind of skylit quality. And we decided that we really wanted to make another kind of statement up here. And the lavender was a choice. We decided to paint the room that color to give it some coherence and to kind of help shape what we were going to do inside it. The lavender, what would you say? It leaked out into the hallway as well, and so if we go spilled out, I guess, into the adjacent hallway. So you see, we painted it, the ceiling height was about 20 feet, and we thought if we just painted about 14 feet, we'll make the space a little bit more human, a little bit more habitable. The artist that you see there is Miguel Fernandez de Castro. In this particular space, we exhibited romantic sheep-herding paintings by the artist Ragnar Kjartansson. And across, we installed Miguel Fernandez de Castro's apocalyptic work, Becoming Suaro. The artist has been observing the Grand Altar Desert that borders with the United States, a site where multiple crises have become visible, from environmental catastrophe to human smuggling. Fernandez de Castro also sees the desert as a space where new forms of criticism and action can find articulation. For him, the apocalyptic image of the burning Suharo becomes an opportunity for meditation on the potentialities of art at this margin. What kind of image is it, he asks? What is produced in the act of repeating it? How can I redeem an image by repetition instead of erasure? I just want to let you know also Fogo Island Art Gallery is on Fogo Island, and we're just about to open a show of Miguel's. He's on his way out to the island. There's a terrible windstorm today, so he got all the way to the ferry after 2 days of traveling from the desert in Mexico and is spending the night in Gander and will arrive hopefully on Fogo tomorrow. And that show will be up for the entire season. It will close October 31st. Sorry. Oh yeah, just to show you just a panel discussion, he brought a video of that same scene, so it's the kind of thing that happens in Shanghai when you do panel discussions. So here's just seeing this room before four different women artists. So Christine Sun Kim is the first one I want to talk about. In the big room on the left wall, we invited Kim to adapt an existing mural for the space. Her practice is grounded in the politics of sound and the embodied experience of deaf culture. As curator Daisy de Rossier commented, through shifts in scale, Kim renders sound's intensity, its brightness and volume, into spatial language. She plays with the delay between expression and reception, underscoring how communication is often fractured, deferred, or mistranslated, especially for those whose ways of communicating are historically marginalized. Her mural makes visible the architecture of language, its interruptions, its lapses, and its erasures. Aki Yonomata's installation in the foreground addresses themes of interdependence, not only between humans, but also between non-humans. How to carve a sculpture is the outcome of a process where wood blocks, chewed by beavers, are juxtaposed with wood carved by humans and digital saws, making the viewer aware of the many collaborators that come together to eventually present a sculpture that evokes modernist forms. So Cristina Flores Pescaron is a beautiful work really related to kind of healing and sort of ancestral knowledge. Again, like a work of craft, all handmade. I think as I began, when I started talking about Jaron Lanier and these instruments, and you think of these kind of crafted instruments, craft was something that really ran through the exhibition. There were a lot of things that were made with the hand. I thought it was really important to have this kind of quality in the show. The last artist to come into this room was Hu Juan, and you can see this sculpture that she made here, this tall wood sculpture with this metal pieces, really, I think, sort of rhymed with Christine Sun Kim's, the staff in the musical composition. If you looked at the other side of this wood beam, it was completely raw, so it spoke to Aki Inamata's sculptures. And on this side, the sculpture, the wood looks white, and it's painted and covered with silk, and there's actually drawing on the silk. It's a very detailed, handcrafted process. The painting that you see as well by Hu is also all sort of covered with silk and drawn on the silk, so very delicate gesture compared to kind of Christine Sun Kim's work. In a room just off the hallway, we had Ragnar and David a video singing. They're singing together. Just hang on a second here. I just want to. Finally, in the last gallery on the other side of the hallway, Ragnar Kjartansson and David Poor Johnson appear in a video titled "A Boy and a Girl, a Bush and a Bird," singing and playing music in a rundown Icelandic greenhouse full of banana trees. The space is similarly heterotopic and layered with histories, and the song's lyrics are drawn from the writings of poet Anne Carson and a translation of a fragment by Empedocles, in which he speaks of being reincarnated into different living forms of the orders of nature. So before now, I have been a boy and a girl and a bush and a bird and a languageless fish in the sea. So these two artists did a great concert on the second night of the opening, and they sang sort of, they did classical music together, but they also performed country songs, all very melancholic, sad songs. So I'm just finishing up. The 15th Shanghai Biennale takes its cue from recent scientific discoveries about the interactions between different life forms. Like the flower that hears the bee's wings, this exhibition aims to operate at the intersection of differing models of intelligence, both human and non-human. It is based on the belief that recent art provides us with a privileged space for such investigations, offering an embodied and interconnected sphere in which communities may form stronger bonds with what eco-philosopher David Abram has called the more than human world. We live in a moment of great uncertainty and global emergency that has given rise to a widespread sense of disorientation. Our world is transforming at a pace that eludes our capacity for comprehension, leaving us feeling bewildered and uncertain. If a return to the past is impossible, art offers us potential pathways out of despair and malaise, helping us to find emergent forms of life and new modes of sensorial communication amid this instability. Conceived in dialogue with the ideas of artists, curators, intellectuals, musicians, poets, scientists, and writers, does the flower hear the bee, recognizes that much depends on our capacity to sense the world around us and attune ourselves to its diverse array of intelligences. Its hopeful vision rests on art's ability to orient us toward an unknown future. Thank you.
Hoping you will come. before I've been. Boy and a girl. Bush and a bird. And a language that's fish in the sea. I cannot keep my dreams straight. I cannot keep my dreams straight. I cannot keep my dreams straight.